I was out and about today, playing some guitar around town, having some fun, hanging out with my Asian wolf. Come home, walk in, TV's on, because my quarter wolf dog Luna is here. So I walk in and there's this commercial going on for Biden. And when I heard what I heard, I couldn't believe it. Let me explain something to Black America. All right? When a president uses the words, even if you're a slave brought here for his campaign, there's an issue. That itself is showing racism. Even if you're a slave and you are brought here. Really? How about if you're a moron running for president who's got no reason or no business running for president because you're a buffoon? And while we're talking Democrats, let's talk about some more things. Who brought slaves to this country? Democrats. Did you know that when the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery was brought forth, do you know that only 23% of Democrats voted yay? Did you know that? For freedom? Only 23% wanted you free. Republicans voted 100% for it. Remember the 14th Amendment? Anybody? Anybody know about that? 14th Amendment, right? Giving slaves citizenship. Guess what? 94% of Republicans voted yes for that. Yep, citizenship. Democrats, 0% voted to give you citizenship, Black America. And they're acting like you're still not a citizen. All these years later, they're acting like you're still slaves. Anybody know anything about the 15th Amendment? That's the amendment that gives everybody the right to vote, including slaves. Guess what? Republicans, they voted 100% for that. For the right. Your right to vote, Black America. Democrats, guess how much percentage voted for you to be able to vote, Black America? 0%. Google it. You think Democrats are the savior of slaves when they brought you here, kept you here, went against your right for freedom, went against your right for citizenship and to vote? That sound like something you want, Black America? Because that's what the Democrats were giving. A bunch of BS. You ready for this? Guess what happened when we got our freedom? Guess what happened? And I'm going to use the word. They brought in new niggers. They were called the Chinese. They paid them. Housing, the whole nine. Money. Paid them to work on the railroads and other things. Were they paying us? No. Instead, they were bringing in the Chinese to take our place as their niggers. Guess what happened? Chinese got real bright. They said, you know what? We're going to own your country. So they took that money and they started buying up your country. That's why China owns as much of us as you do. Ready for this? When that happened, they got to thinking we need some cheaper paying wage shelves. So what did they do? They said, all right, we're going to let them Chinese do whatever they want since they're here in this country. We're going to bring in the South Americans now. Yep. So that South American border got real busy with all of your Democrats owning businesses and needing cheaper wages to pay because they didn't want to pay the niggers that they already brought in the country. And when I say that, I mean the Chinese and the blacks. Didn't want to pay them. So they said, we're going to let the Spanish people come up over the border, and we're going to let them go ahead and be the workforce for a while. See how that goes. So they did that. And that went on for decades. Just like the other ones did. The other slaves. So it went on for decades. And then Spanish people coming up over that border started buying houses here. Starting their own businesses. Okay? Yeah. So for decades then, people were hiring Spanish people to do their paint jobs for them, their roofing jobs, carpentry, you name it, because it was a lot cheaper. And then they took all that money and they bought more houses here. Guess what? The Spanish now own more here than the black people do. Think I'm kidding? Check it out. Then everybody started complaining because there's a lot of work out there people weren't getting because the Spanish was getting it all. So then, what happened next? Let me see. Obama. Yeah, Obama. Let's get Obama. He'll straighten everything up. What did he do? I'll tell you what he did. He stopped all the Spanish from being the niggas. And he brought in some new niggers, known as Muslims. Muslims. Muslims are now the new niggas in this country, along with the rest of us who are still niggas. It's just that each time they get new ones, that new one gets more. And then the old ones start getting less. Just like they did to the blacks, just like they did to the Chinese. And they're starting to do with the Spanish people. Yep. So if you're wondering, where all this racism came from in this country, okay, start with Bigot-Biden. Yeah, start with him, because he couldn't hire a black person for vice president. No. He had to hire somebody who was Asian Jamaican, because Joe Biden is not about black America. Okay? At all. He never will be, he never was. It's always been the same thing. The new slave pool, the new workforce for America. That's what the Democrats are bringing in. So if you're wondering why I'm voting Trump, I'm going to tell you why. I've investigated him myself. To a T, believe me when I tell you this. And when I say I've investigated, I mean I've investigated him all over the world. All right? Oh no, that's right. We can't have Trump in office because he said something about, women, how men do in locker rooms and all that. Oh yeah, and women do in locker rooms and all that. When y'all gonna start talking about the women who have talked shit along the same lines? You won't. Yep. I've never voted for a president in my life. Ever. If you don't believe me, let them check the record and publicize it. I have never voted for a president in my life until 2016. And I did everything I could to go against Hillary Clinton. Yes, I gave you that name. And yes, I'm proud that it ended up on the ballot in your own state. You're just a big sack of frickin' evil. That's all you are. A sad sack at that. Any woman who would stay with a man after the whole world had unfolded in their presence infidelity, you know that person ain't there for no love. You know that. You know that person ain't there for no family. No. She got what she wanted. She got all the Democrats to give her money for her foundation. Comey and the rest. Yeah. So let's think here. Everybody who's going against Trump, for the most part, is part of the Clinton Foundation scandal. Mm-hmm. Yep. Black America, you really think these people are for Black America? Then why is it that Bill Clinton's half-black son that he had with a prostitute in Arkansas while he was governor, why is it that Hillary's letting nobody in her family have anything to do with him? Why is that? Because she's so inclusive? Really? I'll tell you something. Yeah, I'm voting for Trump again. You know why? Let's think for a minute. He's been in office now over 3.5 years. He's gotten a lot done. A lot done. Think of how much more would have been done if the coronavirus didn't show up. Think about that for a second, okay? And while you're thinking about that, think about how much he'd have gotten done if all of the Democrats weren't trying to crap on everything he's tried to do for this country, for you, for me, your neighbor, people you love, family you haven't seen in a long time, my wolf, my dog. Think the Democrats are going to do anything for you, Black America? Let me tell you something. Ain't going to happen. You know why? Because if they did that, you wouldn't be at the bottom anymore. That's right. You'd have a better shot of becoming what they call middle class, upper class. And that they don't want. So all of you who are planning on voting Democrat, all right, you can go ahead and vote Democrat. And if by some, if something happens, okay, let's say, I don't know, let's say a quasar happens or something like that, and Biden becomes president, you think you got it bad now? I'll tell you right now where you'll end up. I want you to look outside tomorrow. I want you to go to the worst downtrodden neighborhood you can, and I want you to take a good look around. Because if Biden becomes president, you'll all be there. And if you're in a nice neighborhood, that'll change. That'll change. So take it from the person who, if anybody has been more discriminated against me in this country, I'd like to meet them. Okay, as far as people alive, mind you. Okay, although they've almost killed me 2 or 3 times, I forget which, as in police, Montgomery County, Maryland. So, if you really think that Biden and the Democrats are for Black America, boy, do you have something coming. In 1963, I was born. The Democrat University, known as Georgetown University, put on my birth certificate that my father's white and my mother's white. You see this background? What's wrong with this picture? Do I look white? No, I'm proudly mixed race. Proudly. But Georgetown couldn't admit that because they didn't do mixed birth race. I mean, yeah, births because they're not racist. Yeah, my birth certificate says both of my parents are white. They changed my name and my father's name on my birth certificate because our name was well known around D.C. Okay? It took him almost a year to have them change his name again to the correct name. But you know what? They didn't even do it at the top there where it says father, mother, yada, yada. They just typed it in at the bottom real small. That's a footnote. Now let me show you something. I'm going to go grab it and show it to you. Think I'm kidding? Some things I don't joke about. So, for all of you out there, take a look at this. That's my birth certificate. Okay? Now, as you see right here, where it says mother and father, white and white, that's a lie. See this name that they put on my birth certificate for me? Right here? That's not my name. That's a lie. See down here where they permitted my father's correction to be in here instead of up here where it belongs, up here in these boxes for him or for me. Now both of us have these little footnotes down here at the bottom. One of them states that my father's name is not Laval, it's Lowell Hayes, Lowell Sherwin Hayes, and mine is the same, only mine didn't get changed until 2008. How about that? You see the date? See the date? That's what Democrats do. Yeah. Change shit, hide shit, redo shit. But when it all comes down to it, it's all about one thing with the Democrats, and that's making sure that you stay under them. Black America, Chinese America, Spanish America, Muslim America. Because to this day, every one of us were still niggers. You know when that's going to change? I'll tell you when it's going to change. Human rights. That's when it's going to change. Human rights. You can't do it burning shit down, destroying shit. That ain't going to work. People tried that. I watched it in the 63, 64, 65, 66, 7, 8, 9 to 71 when my family had to flee the country and become refugees in Canada because we were being attacked from both sides, the blacks and the whites, because we're mixed race. So, for what it's worth, I hope you think about your vote, and I hope you investigate like I did. That's all I got to say.